minutes, 6 after the hour of 8 o'clock, right here at WOCO. It's time for your Tuesday morning talk show, originating from the WOCO studios. Your host, Walter. Should have gave you plenty of time to walk from that front office to the table. Or maybe not.
Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if
Did he freeze like in mid-step?
bring me down. Can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't none bring me down.
Did he go back outside? Someday.
My radio quit.
Come on, turn. I don't care about your radio. Turn this one on. Let's go.
It did.
Morning, Walter.
That's okay. I can't hear a word.
That's all right. Good
Well,
morning.
I can hear her. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Joan. How are you?
I think I hear her coming down the hallway. Hi, Terry. I'm waving.
Okay, I'm waving back. Oh my goodness.
So
Is he
what have
like-
you been doing this weekend?
You know, I've been couching it and staying warm with my blankies.
You know, I had 3 days off of work, and for 2 of the days, I did not leave the house.
Yeah,
Me neither.
we watched, and this is sad. We watched the entire Harry Potter series, and then it gets worse. We watched the entire Hobbit ring.
That sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, so we were like zoned out there. And it's pretty much our weekend. It was nice, actually.
Next weekend, it's the Star Wars series, huh?
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I'm up for it.
Except for the new one, huh?
Except for the new one. Well, that's not on DVD. Well,
Yeah,
there's
no.
a new one, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a start.
Oh, that should be fun to watch.
yeah.
Should start at
You
midnight.
kind of start losing track after a while.
Yeah, the movies started blending together.
And, you know, they kind of like, is this before, middle, or after?
And you know, when
Oh, and then the new one that's coming out next summer is Hans Solo, and that's when he was a pre-Jedi or whatever, or
yeah, before.
pre-adult.
Oh,
I don't know. So it's like they skip all over the place.
But you know what's confusing?
Yes.
It's when they start using the same actor in both movies. You know, Dan, you know,
Yeah, some of the soldiers in the background, you
Oh,
go,
no,
I recognize that guy.
no, you got the wizard, Gandalf, and the Harry Potter wizard, and the I can't think of his name. The one in the Hobbit movie are the same guy, and
Oh, yeah.
and he's a wizard in both movies. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Is it the guy with the beard?
Yeah, the old dude.
Yeah.
The old dude, yeah.
A whiz is a whiz of a whiz he was.
Yeah, it's like, talk about typecasting, huh? Oh well, all yours.
Okay.
I'm done.
That's it. We got nothing.
Well, it was nice talking to you all.
You know, really, I haven't seen you since last year.
Last year, yes.
Very true.
Wow.
Yeah, we're all like just trying to caffeinate. This has been it's the first thing after.
Is the library still there yet?
Well, I don't know. I haven't been to town.
Just crawling out of the house now. We've been in our pajamas for like 3 days.
It's like, I was telling Terry my legs were bothering me, but I've been working on these puzzles. You know, we have this puzzle exchange at the library, so people bring in their old puzzles and drop them off and take different puzzles. And there was this one that was kind of cool, and my daughter and I, when she was in high school and college, every Christmas vacation, we worked on a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's not fun working on a puzzle by yourself.
No.
No. So I started one this weekend, or I started it over Christmas, and I was working on it this weekend. And you know how you're always getting up to reach across the table to get that one piece that has to be over there in the back 40, you know?
Which isn't the one you wanted anyway.
And then it doesn't fit. and then it was like, this morning you wake up and your legs are kind of stiff and sore, and it's like, what the heck? I can't even do a puzzle anymore. I was ready to throw it in the box anyway. I got the fun stuff done.
I don't know if I could do a puzzle. I think my attention span is so bad. I can't even watch an entire movie without like doing something at the same time. I don't know what it is.
The movie has to be really good for me not to be doing something at the same time. Yeah. And that's why Mark loves to go to the theater and watch the new movies when they come out. And I hate sitting there for 3 hours, being trapped in the middle of the row and not being able to. And it's too dark to read, too dark.
Right. You have to, all of your attention has to be on it.
They tell you to turn your phone off.
You can't look at anything else. I know. I just thought, well, imagine that with a kid's movie. I just saw the My Little Pony movie, and that was 2 hours.
You went to My Little Pony?
Oh, yes, I did.
Which child wanted to see that?
They would never admit it, but like my middle one did for sure. My youngest one, even though I dragged him, he wasn't really that sad about being there. So it's kind of funny because he's like, "Mom, I can't believe we're doing this so embarrassing."
I hope nobody sees me.
And then as we're watching it, he's like, "Ooh, it's pretty good." He was the most engaged of anybody, so that was pretty bad. It was. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was. You know,
I'm surprised.
Yeah, it was.
Can you believe these people are librarians?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I finished a book last night though. I read a couple of books over Christmas, and there's this author, C.J. Box.
Yeah.
Very popular, and has about not as many as Patterson, but must have maybe 15 books or something out, and they're all in this series, and they're about this game warden named Joe Pickett. And so I did book 1 and book 3 because book 2 was checked out. Okay. And I finished book 2 last night, and I think it was one of the better books that I have read in a long time. And do you want me to close that window for you?
I'm moving over. I got a person who's going to close it right now for me.
Terry, he's
that's so nice. So much better. Yes. So
Walt speaks and Terry comes.
That's right.
You know,
I speak. Happened to be.
I speak, and my husband looks at me like, "You want what?"
Oh, that was nice. Yeah.
So, if anybody's out there looking for an author to read, it's a game warden out in Montana, and the very first book opens up with him giving a ticket to a guy for fishing out of season fishing without a license, and it turned out to be the governor of the state.
Wow.
And so every book starts with, "Well, aren't you the guy who gave the governor a ticket for fishing out of..." Yes.
Is that a newer series, or is that...
No, actually, it's an older... I don't know when it started, but the first book you can't even get anymore.
Oh, really?
I've looked for it because ours is in really bad shape, and you can't find it. Amazon, you can get used paperbacks.
Okay.
So,
Came out in 1914.
Probably 1914. Except the guy is driving a Ford truck, so maybe not.
Okay, 50.
But it's just...
Ford was back there quite a bit.
Yeah, it's just one of those stories that starts kind of slow, and you're going, okay, the first one was good, maybe this one isn't, and then it keeps on building, and then it always has a interesting ending.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you learn a lot about Montana. And some of the park reserves, and also some of the stories, and I kind of like books like that, so read it.
Okay, well, you know what I read this weekend? Like 30 books on library management and teaching a class.
Oh. Gee, my 2 little books mean...
They're just very... Some of them, I mean, they're just... I just would like to read a little.
So are you teaching one of the beginning classes, the required classes for non-credited
Well, I'm teaching at a class for Chippewa Valley, and they are doing a librarian program, and this is advanced library administration.
So this is like NWTC only, Chippewa Valley.
Way out on the other side of the state. So, and so they have a couple online classes, but I had to create, because this is a new program for librarians, so I had to create a new class and create the syllabi and the readings and all the stuff. And so I was like, I procrastinated to the exact last minute, and then I said, I'm going to do this all on Christmas break, and that's what I did. But it was interesting, some of it, but like, you know, that's why I like to read fiction, and everyone makes fun of me because they're like, oh, Jennifer, she likes to read vampire books. This is why. Because of nonfiction, it's just too much.
Why do we do that, though? We wait till the last minute to...
Yes.
I do it here. You know, I worked the whole weekend because I waited till the last minute.
Right. I did with my kids this morning. We had all the time in the world to get lunches ready and schools, you know, get our planners checked and get our school clothes out. And what were we doing this morning? I was like, everybody get in the car! We gotta go! That, you know, I mean, nobody had a lunch made. We were like, we have one glove for 4 children, or 3. So it was like, you know...
Sometimes I can stay on schedule and get things done ahead of time, and then other times it's like depends.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure there's organization books at the library we could all check out how to get better at it, but we don't know. So I don't know. But we've got some programs going on. Do you want me to talk a little bit about library programs?
Do we have to talk about libraries?
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
It might be a good idea.
Let's talk about the weather yet. We haven't talked about the weather yet.
Not. No, so I just wanted to let everybody know we have a couple things going on right now. Early January is kind of a lighter time, especially when it's freezing outside. But I have to say, I notice people, it doesn't matter. It could be like this, like freezing cold, and people still come in if the sun is shining. That's just, it never fails. If it's dark, it's like people don't want to move, but like if it's light outside like this,
and 30 below, they still come in.
People still come in.
Because it's warmer inside.
Yeah, that might be, or just because they just, I don't know, it's something about the sun. So I wanted to talk about we have a winter reading club in Marinette right now, and this is for adults.
How seasonal.
I know, it's super winter. It could not get more winter outside. The club actually started on December 16th, but it runs through January 6th, so we've still got the tail end of it. And so if you're interested, there are some tracking sheets, and at this point, I know it's getting a little late in the game, but you can still participate in that. So come on out to the library. That's in Marinette. We have a genealogy group in Marinette. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're meeting on the 22nd of January at 4 p.m. So come out for that. It's an interesting group. Do lots of genealogical things and discussions and, you know, and resources. And that's really big in Marinette. We have, I don't know, it's because I'm sure that, you know, Marinette has really interesting history, and, you know, so this whole area, we have some microfilm readers, and people come from all over and just use them. And, you know, I'm trying to get people to use the databases a little bit more.
We still have one that works.
Oh, we have 2 that work. Yeah, and actually they still make them. The ones that we have now are, well, they're like 4 or 5 years old, I want to say now. And so they have USB readers, so instead of having to print it,
you can just save it.
Yeah, you can save it on there, because that saves a lot of paper, which is kind of nice, because people will come in and they, you know, I mean, even just printing like one page, you know, people want to print out like various articles and things, and it's just, it saves time and money and paper and trees. So that's been kind of nice. But now, though, they make new microfilm readers that are like, you know, they do all kinds of cool stuff. And I don't know, the thing that's hard with microfilm is we want to eventually get the stuff digitized, right? So like it's more accessible on the internet if you can get to it. I spent the weekend, my kids are in National History Day. The school does National History Day every year, and they pick a topic. And so they're kind of learning about primary sources and newspaper databases and, you know, and all of these things. And the natural searching method for kids is a lot different than going on a microfilm reader and trying to find some of these things. So like, so I was looking through some of the newspaper databases, and it's actually, these were ones through the public library. Also, the school has, they're linked into Badger too. So, so I found a whole bunch of stuff, and my son was showing me, which I haven't used it a lot, but there are some databases that can categorize the stuff, and it'll show like an icon, and it'll say primary source, secondary source, so the kids can pick up on that. And there's so much that's digitized right now, as far as like, there needs to be more obviously, but like as far as like newspapers and primary sources. This weekend, one of my kids is doing the Cuban Missile Crisis, and they have all these telephone calls with Kennedy and original letters between between the United States and Soviet Union at the time. And it's just really fascinating stuff, and it's all all this stuff has been preserved, and even local papers, because they they had to find a local paper or some kind of newspaper that talked about the Cuban Missile Crisis at the time. And
so what local paper did they find?
It was like Illinois.
I was going to say,
yeah, it wasn't one of ours.
It wasn't one of ours.
No, it was Sterling, maybe Illinois. I don't know. But either way, I mean, they didn't have to find that, but we wanted to find a newspaper
Why
article.
Sterling, Illinois?
because they had it there, and we were going to find a newspaper, but they had hundreds of them from the Cuban Missile Crisis, from everybody who has everything digitized. But it was still kind of cool to see, like,
I could sound a lot of cities around.
The bad part is Green Bay Press-Gazette is owned by Gannett, and Gannett will not allow the newspapers put on the Badger link. So any Gannett newspaper is not available for.
Is it on microfilm still?
I have no idea, but it's not available on the database for the Badger link.
I wonder if someday they will, though, because I think people get nervous about that stuff, but as soon as they start to realize how valuable it is for researchers and getting information out there, I think it'll change. It's slow to change, and that's the thing. That's why people have to come into the library and use the microfilm, because it's not online yet, and it's so much work to digitize it, and then to create the metadata and the searchable metadata so people can find this stuff. It's really, like, we have a couple handmade books over by us of all of the obituaries, like local obituaries, and what a meticulous process to have to go through, pick out all these obits, put them in a spreadsheet, and then look up the the name of the person, and so all that indexing it's time consuming, but it's interesting anyway. But it's getting better, and we did find quite a lot of things, and the database is actually really neat. And I think that's one thing that's kind of underutilized with the public libraries. I think people forget that we have that stuff. And so, because my kids use InfoSoup all the time, but they were surprised that we had that database too, because they use it at school, so that was kind of cool.
Well, it might be Sterling because there's 3 cities together. There's Sterling, Dixon, and Rock Falls.
Aha.
And that's on the west part of the state.
Yeah. I forget you're from there. I was happy.
No, I'm not from there. But
you're
from Illinois.
They have a radio station there called WSBR, Sterling, Dixon, and Rock Falls, and I played on that radio station.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
See?
My accordion.
You played your accordion?
Uh-huh.
That's so great. Can we do that one time? Do you still have it?
I'm gonna hurt her.
Did you forget it, Terry?
Yes, I still have it.
We'll intro every librarian show with that.
But I used to teach accordion.
I didn't know that.
I studied in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. My father-in-law and his 2 brothers had an accordion band. And they went around like the Oshkosh area, and they played like supper clubs and stuff.
Sure.
Polkas?
I'm thinking.
Of course.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of music you can get for accordions, and they all kind of sound like polkas to me.
I think you're right. Poking is no joke. I'm like, it's exhausting. I realized until I went to a wedding and danced with, like some older guys that were probably in their 70s or 80s, and they are able to, just swing. I mean, it's not like dancing now. It's like really, really a lot of energy to do that.
It's a lot of energy.
Yeah. I was really surprised, because I don't know if I've ever polka'd before. So anyway, but on that note, Do you have anything? Or do you want me to talk about some other things? How did we get so random? What even brought that up?
We've got about 3 minutes left to this half hour.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're very meticulous about the time.
It doesn't pay to start and then have to stop.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just going to say Crivets. Did I talk about? I did not talk about Crivets.
No. What's happening in Crivets?
Yeah,
Crivets has on Thursday. They have 2 story times. Just so you know.
2.
Yes, 10 and 12, and that's been working out pretty well. Last time they made ornaments, and they do fun hats, and they do. Tab always does like the best crafts there. She's creative, and you know every library has its strength. My strength when I did story time was never the arts and crafts, just because it's not something I'm very good at. Tab is amazing at it. She does her research. She these kids make the coolest stuff. So so if you are in the Crivets area, we do have those story times on Thursday. We also have story times again throughout the so watch our calendar in our Facebook. Our Facebook almost has 700 followers right now, which is I think fantastic.
I have 698.
Oh well, aren't you something?
And I'm only little Oconto.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
We do have different library branches, but then they're not quite at 700 yet. But they are. We're trying to do. Everybody's trying to do their own thing.
I watched that number.
Yeah,
I was happy when I got to 200.
Awesome. I know we were too. We started out and we, is smaller, but it's nice. It's a good way to communicate with patrons. It's also it's nice to be able to put some of our pictures up there and people can see what we're doing. So so check that page if you are interested in some of the programs. We do have all of the branches on there. Our Facebook is Marinette mostly. Crivets has a Facebook page, Coleman has a Facebook page. On our website itself, we have all of the branches in a news feed. So so double check that if you're interested for some other things coming up. But we all have different story times. Marinette usually has their preschool one on Tuesday mornings. Our baby one is on Wednesday mornings. We do have we have some evening ones for the older kids, like our Lego story time we are continuing to do. And some of those type of things. So we will have a new winter calendar coming out pretty soon. We're just solidifying times and rooms and dates and money for what we can afford. And so we're working on that right now. So that should be coming out, and we have paper ones too. So for you people who like paper, I like paper myself. I will have some brochures at the library you can pick up for winter. So we have a lot of stuff going on in this winter. If it's going to keep going the way it is right now, probably the best place to be will be a nice warm library. I'm just saying. Getting there won't be the best, but once you're there, just stay. Don't leave.
Sounds like a winner. We're going to stop right at that particular point. Your timing was just right on.
Yep.
The music started in the background. So, I think Terry's starting to sing. Can't quite tell.
Play the accordion?
Yeah. We will be back right after this. I'm Walt.
Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Yeah. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Yeah. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. Yeah. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a
USA Radio News with Chris Barnes.
At least 20 people reportedly killed now in the violent protests in several Iranian cities, and hundreds have been arrested. The anti-government protesters angry at soaring prices, government corruption, and according to Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin of New York, also some aspects of Iranian foreign policy.
They see money get squandered on pointless exercises outside of their own borders, and they want a better way of life for their people.
Not a great welcome home for Americans coming back from holiday travels abroad or for those coming to visit the U.S., as a massive crash of the U.S. Customs computer system last night caused huge lines to form at international airports nationwide. Officials say it doesn't appear it was a hack, but they can't explain exactly what the cause was yet. And this is USA Radio News.
Hi, I'm Wayne Alaroot. I was one of the biggest critics of Obama in the national media. Suddenly, I was under massive IRS attack. So I hired Sam Landis. Sam did an amazing job. We won twice. I didn't owe a penny. Thank you, Sam Landis. Many of you have IRS problems, and you've spent thousands with non-lawyer tax resolution firms. Do yourself a favor. Call Sam Landis for a free consultation. Trust me, Sam Landis is the best. Sam saved my life. Call Sam at 800-WE-HELP-YOU with the letter U. That's toll free. 800-WE-HELP-YOU with the letter U. 800-WE-HELP-YOU.
Geico presents eyewitness interviews with inanimate objects.
This is Brian Bruno live on the scene of a recently flooded basement, here to describe the event, a tube sock.
So I'm curled up in a cozy pile of whites when the washing machine suddenly starts shimmying and shaking. Next thing I know, we're standing in 4 inches of water.
Did you help clean up?
Sure, but I'm just one sock.
A tube sock can't help you with a flooded basement, but the Geico Insurance Agency can help you get covered for personal property damage. Call Geico to see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
USA Christian News. It was a unanimous vote back on June 6th when the House passed H.R. 390, the Iraq and Syria Genocide, Emergency and Accountability Act. But since that time, the U.S. Senate has failed to act. As soon as the Senate returns to work in 2018, an effort will be made to pass the legislation that will help persecuted Christians recover whatever they can now that Islamic terrorists have been forced out. Besides the genocidal acts and brutal murders of thousands of people, members of ISIS enslaved others to sexual slavery. Once H.R. 390 is passed, there will be an effort for many of those Islamic terrorists to be held accountable. Nate Lance is with International Christian Concern.
A number of Yazidi women who can identify positively the people that captured them and put them in sexual slavery, yet for the time being, there is really no legal recourse for them to provide justice to those victims.
For the USA Radio Network, this is John Clemens.
Expiring today. Will be bright and sunny with a high around 10 above. Then snow showers are likely through tonight with a low around 5 above 0, and we may see a couple more flurries on Wednesday with a high of 14. Will be bright and sunny on Thursday, but a bit cooler with a high falling to 7 above. Then Friday will be about the same with more sunny skies and a high of 6 above. We'll stay sunny into Saturday with a high around 10. Then we may see a couple snow showers on Sunday. For WOCO Radio, I'm meteorologist Andrew Mabus.
And we are currently at 0. Yeah, 0 is our current temp. Winds are still kicking out there, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour, and we have a gust well up into the mid-teens. So with a temp at 0 and the winds whipping out there, let's give it anywhere. Wind chills of, we can go 19 to 25 below. 19 to 25 below on the wind chills. 0 is the actual temperature on the outside. Let's head on back to your talk show this Tuesday morning with your host, Walter.
Yes, the question, is that a minus or a positive?
It's a
0?
positive.
A positive 0,
it's
okay.
Technically 0.5.
What was going to be the high today? Was it like 2 or something like that?
No, it's supposed to be 10.
10?
10?
Double dig.
Wow. I thought today was supposed to be the coldest day.
No.
Well, they changed that along the way.
Oh, so it's actually going to be a lot warmer.
Wait till next weekend. 26 on Sunday.
26 on Sunday.
And it's going to snow.
Really?
It's got to warm up the snow, so wish for snow, all right?
It's always like that.
But I thought I heard last night they were teasing us on the weather last night, saying, yeah, next weekend warms up, but then the long range, so there's another cold front coming.
They can't tell one snowstorm from the next. Are you really listening to people?
Yeah, I was thinking it was only going to be a high of 2.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. It's the Joan and Jen show.
Joan doesn't want to
Who got
talk
here
now.
first?
So what other things did your kids do this weekend?
Can I tell the story? Am I allowed to say, Terry, that it's streaming or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was a super secret. So one of my littlest son doesn't understand radio.
The littlest. Now, does that mean age?
All right, well, age and size is quite a small little fry. In fact, Santa,
Littlest.
every year Santa says, "Oh, aren't you so cute? How old are you?" Like 4 years younger than what he actually is, and he's always like, "Santa," but he can't get mad at Santa because it's Santa. So he was actually trying to figure out the radio show. He has his own YouTube show that he does where he does different things, and then he gets people following him and subscribing to him, and and then they interact back and forth or whatever. So he was asking me how many subscribers I had at the radio show for the Joan and Jen show, and I said, I don't know what you mean. And he said, how do you know how many people are listening to you? And I said, I don't know that because it's radio. So today Terry is recording us, so then if we put it online, we can see how many people are listening online. Right? Is that the story? And now Joan doesn't want to talk because she's shy.
Now that I know that she's recording it, it's like, Okay, it's my turn.
It's Joan's turn.
Oconto Falls Library. That's a big subject.
They have a library. Yes.
They have a library. Yes, yes. And have you
Very
driven
nice
past the library this summer? Have you seen our new paint job in the front, right?
No.
I've
guys
seen it,
haven't
but it's nighttime when we go by.
Oh. Well, we had that new roof put on a couple years ago, and the plaster on the front was cracking, and it had moss growing in the cracks.
Okay.
And the name of the library, the brick is red, and then the name of the library was in brown on the brick. It's these metal letters, and so it kind of blended in. And then we had that ugly teal that was all over the front, as accent colors. And so actually this summer the city had hired a painter. And the changes are so subtle you don't really realize it. But we painted the teal, the red to match the brick.
Okay.
So it just blends right in.
Yeah.
And then the letters from the dark brown, we painted them like a beige, so they stand off of the wall. So when you're driving by, you can actually see the name of the library on the building.
That's kind of nice.
And they repaired the plaster, so my moss is now gone. It was like, oh, look at that moss up there. And they repainted
moss,
the plaster.
Not mouse.
Yeah, moss.
Moss, yeah, okay.
Yes. and then the doors were also, the metal doors come in and were also teal. And they repainted those. We're getting rid of the teal.
I don't even remember any of that. I'm not very observant.
See, that drove me nuts that we had that color combination out there, and other people don't even notice it.
No.
So the painter, when he got done, the floor as you come into the library has teal accents. And it's gray and teal, and I said, no, could you do something about those teal tiles on the floor? And he goes, no, you're stuck with those
teal tiles. Yes.
But yeah, we had it actually, because you don't notice, I think I picked out the colors very well, because it's not
That's
glaring.
The point is to,
It is not to notice. So
Right.
that was one of the big changes in the library this summer. And then this the Friday before Christmas, we had a furnace replaced. The library has 3 furnaces, and the one that went to the meeting room, because of the size of our building, we're not real huge, so we aren't required to have a commercial furnace or a large furnace, so we can get by with residential furnaces, but it takes 3 of them. And so we replaced 2 furnaces for the main part of the library. Oh, it was in 2009, but we didn't replace the one in the meeting room because then it's off most of the time, because we don't have a lot of people using the meeting room in the wintertime. And we did have some problems with it last winter, and so I budgeted for it for next year, this year, 2018, to replace it. And the city council goes, well, why are you waiting until then when you've already had to do repairs? And I go, it's that pesky thing called a budget,
Yeah.
You guys want me to stay on budget, but at the same time, you want me to replace the furnace, you know. And so actually they came in on Friday before Christmas and replaced the furnace. And so now we are toasty warm. We also had another improvement in the library. You can call it an improvement or not, but we did the city, and it's not a library an improvement, it's a city improvement. On the property had installed security cameras. So there's been a number of problems around the city of Oconto Falls with the young people, and
those young people they're always breaking stuff.
Can't they do stuff like robotics and have YouTube shows and all that other stuff? They gotta come and so because of patron privacy and stuff like that, we could not install the programs and the cameras and let the police have access to them. So after going over it with DPI and what we had to do, it had to be a completely city monitored, city paid for, city installed program, and then the city is the record keeper.
Yeah, it gets complicated.
It gets complicated out there. So not only do we have a new furnace, we have eyes everywhere. I don't even look at the cameras or anything like that. So
I only have eyes for you.
Oh, yeah,
so beautiful.
And a lot of our young people that were causing issues, and they would congregate outside the library door on the sidewalk, and people would have to walk through after school, like 20 kids.
Were they a gang?
They were middle
Oconto Falls gang.
Yeah, they were like middle school and early high school, and patrons refused to do it. They weren't using the library because they did not want to have to walk through these groups of boys, and the boys were trash talking all the time too. So it was like they just refused to do it. Wow. So you'd ask them to leave, and they'd argue with you, and you'd say you're going to call the police, but that didn't work because the police don't come. So, but since the camera, I don't know what's working. The cameras or the cold. We haven't had issues.
It's been pretty cold. Even a street gang doesn't want to hang out outside.
And you feel bad because you want kids using the library, but at the same time, you don't want them to be malicious and chasing other people away, legitimate users. And so I argued with the city on this for quite a while, but they won.
Well, you could have something like Amy has up there at Lena. You can come in and talk
to the fish.
Talk to the fish.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah. Amy's fish is famous.
It's pretty awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It makes me want to talk to all my fish. I have snails at home, and I always wonder, like, do these snails want to be talked to? Would they grow faster if I just read to my snails? Maybe.
Well, put Rowan in front of them and let him talk
read to my snails.
Go read to my snails. You know, I can tell you what to do. Okay. So our sewing classes are starting up next week again. In the fall, we offered, I think we had 10 or 11 free sewing classes, beginning sewing classes, from pillowcases and totes. And I have, you know, a lot of totes because they're easy to make and they're very useful. So actually, one of my instructors is having a hip replaced in a couple of weeks, and so she's not able to do it, so Lori's doing it by herself. I think she's down for 7 classes or so between January and April. And again, it's going to be different kinds of totes, simply because they, you know, are so easy to make, and we can get them done in 2 hours, and you learn basic sewing in it. And she's also doing a zippered pouch because she believes everybody who learns to sew needs to know how to put a zipper in. And so we do have the classes. They're offered on Monday mornings and Saturday mornings.
Ooh, Saturday mornings, I could come to that.
Saturday mornings.
I don't know how to put on a zipper.
You don't know how to put on a zipper. Well,
we're making throw my clothes away and get new ones at Walmart.
We're making a zippered pouch. And so, it is on Facebook, the list of classes. This time around, we are charging a $5 fee per class to cover the cost of the materials. Mm-hmm. The last time we had some donations of material that we were able to use so that we didn't charge. But this time, we need to charge a little bit. Yeah. And you don't need to bring sewing machines. We have sewing machines. We have the cutters. We have scissors. We have everything. You just show up.
So how's the classes?
They're so much fun.
So much fun.
So much fun. Yeah,
I knew that was
it was eventually going to come. The people seem to really enjoy it. Lori is a really good instructor, and yeah, and
I'll bet you she keeps you in
stitches, yeah,
Oh.
and she keeps, yeah. And the other day, though,
we just lost 3 more states that were
and then I was watching Channel 11, Good Morning, whatever, it's not Good Morning America, Good Morning whatever on Channel 11, and there's a sewing store in De Pere. It's called Life in Stitches or something like that. And they're offering sewing classes, and they're making totes and stuff like we're making. And I'm going, she found my poster. She found us on Facebook. She knows what we're doing.
See, that's a bad thing about having 698 followers.
I don't know where they all are, but yeah. So there does, and she was talking about there does seem to be a trend, people wanting to learn how to sew again. I learned to sew in 7th and 8th grade or something like that, and I don't think I've ever did it since. I did buy a sewing machine, and I can jam up a bobbin faster than you can blink. So I just, if I can't do it by hand, I don't do it. But I am thinking about taking one of Lori's sewing classes. And see, she can always fix the machine after I break it. So
I used to fix sewing machines too.
Oh, I might have somebody, because the sewing machines that we have are.
You do everything.
Just about. What kind do you have?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But there,
we did.
I found them at rummage sales and stuff like this.
Sure.
Picked them up for $20 here. Somebody donated one here, and so every once in a while, somebody has to look at them, I guess. And we had a friend of one of our patrons came and he looked at them before we started and said, okay, these 3 are crap. He said, just get rid of those 3. And then the other ones, he says, these, and made sure they were oiled and stuff like that so that they run
and
okay.
times so that the stitch is at the same time the bobbins.
Yeah, and I don't know how any of that works. So
it doesn't if it's not set right.
Which might be part of my problem. So then we also the middle of January, we'll start the yoga classes again. So we're doing the yoga classes on Friday mornings and the active adults on Mondays, and winter is a time where you just don't get out enough and stuff, and if you want to do a little bit of physical activity, or the yoga classes are not on the floor doing doggy poses and stretching to the ceiling and all. They're chair yoga classes where it's designed for people who need assistance, who can't get on the floor, or they can't.
If they get on the floor, they can't get back up.
Yeah. And so, whether it's because of surgeries,
and you have room in the library for
and
that.
we have room in the meeting room. Yep.
Sure.
And it works very well.
That's where we used to do our radio shows from.
Yep. Yeah. And then Beth
in Oconto Falls.
I
didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
Well, we did. Our talk show started by going to places.
Oh, so you went on location to, okay.
Yeah, and now he's in the big time, and we all have to come
We
to
all
him.
come here.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So Beth Schmidt from the Bond Center, before she was at the Bond Center, she was also working at Bellin Fitness in Green Bay, and so she's our yoga instructor, and so now she's working at the Bond Center, but she also is doing some freelancing working for us, and so that's
and she'll be good,
and she is very good. She is very good. We're having a game day on January 27th. It's a Saturday afternoon from 2 until 5. Actually, it's been so long, I don't even remember all the titles that we bought. I bought a bunch of games, and so there's some of the newer board games like Locus and Lewis and Clark. There's a Battleship game, which is not Battleship but we must have about 20 new games. Catan.
Love Catan.
Forbidden Island, and we got the expansion pack that goes with Catan, so you can have 7 people play instead of 4.
Sounds awesome.
Forbidden Island, there's about 20 of them. And they're not available yet for circulation because cataloging has not finished the records. And so I have to send them an email and say, you know, we are having this gaming event January 25th. Would it be possible to have the records done by then? Because we've been sitting on these things for about 2 months now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you have to do original cataloging for that. It's not something libraries typically have.
And so, January 27th is a Saturday from 2 until 5. We're partnering with Gnome Games from Green Bay. And they're coming out and they're bringing some board games with them. Board games are coming back in style.
Oh yeah. There's a gaming store, Game Night. Is it Game Nights? It's in Marinette, and they just have their own. They have games, but then they have tables, and you can bring your family and bring your own games.
There's a game store in Marinette?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
it's
that.
relatively new. I don't know. It's been there more than 8
Yeah, and Gnome Games does that too. They have 2 rooms, and one room is all set up with tables that if there's any game you want to play, you can go in there and play and stuff like that.
You wouldn't believe how packed these places are. They're super busy, and I don't know. And maybe they've always kind of been like with their.
It's probably been kind of like an underground thing, you know. We got away from board games because everybody was on the internet and doing other things, and now people are going back to the board games. And it's not Risk and Monopoly and all these games that we grew up with. It's a whole new generation of games and pieces and parts, and we were doing. It took us. It probably took us 2 months to inventory the games because this one has a round disc and a square disc, a green dice and a blue dice, and 4 people and 3 horses, and so we.
What happens if someone loses like one of the die? Do you just charge them for the whole game?
We're
figuring that out.
I guess there is some gaming Facebook pages, and I guess on some of them that if you write to the gaming company, they will sometimes replace the pieces for you. We're looking at the games, trying to figure out what pieces we can miss and still have the game be playable.
Right.
The board is gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just dry.
The box is empty. It was that way when I checked it out. So we have this list of inventory in each game so that when somebody brings the game back, we will immediately do inventory and hopefully call them right away and say, you're missing this little tiny round disc that's about the size of a dime. You need to go find it.
Yes. Go look in your house.
So it's going to be a hassle. It'll be.
But the dog ate.
That's right. Dog ate everything.
Have to wait a while.
That might have been when the cat threw up on it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the games. But
Folks,
the
this
games.
is the library stuff we're talking about.
So. Games, they're a little higher price games, but we pay more for some of the seasons on DVDs than we did for these games. So it's not like we're paying big bucks for them, but at the same time we want to see them go out more than once before. So we will have to be a little bit hard with the patrons on it and make sure that they do return all of the items and
when they bring it back in, that has to be checked.
It will be checked by staff, and they will get a phone call. We are limiting the games to Oconto Falls Library simply because of that. So patrons have to check them out at Oconto Falls, and they have to return them to Oconto Falls. Simply. So
can you put them in the book drop?
Actually, most of them won't fit in the book drop. There are a few that will fit in the book drop, but they will have to return them to Oconto Falls because of that issue. So January 27th from 2 to 5, if you're not doing anything, or if you have some grandkids or somebody over and you want to get them out of your hair for a while, we will have board games, we will have some snacks, we will have some prizes, we will hopefully have
snacks
some.
Come with the board games?
No, they're gonna be in the other room. So that's January 27th. Our cake pans, we did add a bunch of cake pans. Shaped cake pans where we have Elmo and Christmas trees and the princess from Frozen and Elsa, and a whole bunch of cake pans. And so Lori got them all added. We got them added to Info Soup. We got them out on the floor, and we came in one day and there was a pile, like 20 pans on the floor, or on where we put the donations. And I said to Lori, where did those come from? And she said, that's what I was going to ask you. And I said, but you did all the pans. And she said, I did all the pans. And it turned out a patron saw the pans that we had done and brought us some more. So our pan collection is growing. So hopefully we'll get some people to check out pans.
You gotta make a cake pan video. That's what we did.
Really?
Yeah. We really did. We put it on Facebook, and it was all pictures of our pans and like set to music and like.
I was gonna say, cause is it Wasaki who has cake pans?
Yeah. It was pretty. It was probably like production style was probably way up there considering it was cake pans. You know, but you know,
I might have to think about that. You know, put that on there or something because I have had it on Facebook.
Probably came out of Sterling.
It did, right? Top story, Sterling, Illinois.
But they are.
We're gonna get in trouble about saying that.
Yes, really. And the teacher's gonna know about it because now that it's streaming, she's probably listening.
That's right. Yeah. We're not gonna let any teachers listen to this.
So
no teachers.
So come in if you're looking for that unique birthday item, cake or whatever, and you want to make your own instead of going and paying $20 at the grocery store or whatever. We do have small kits with the tips in them, so you can do your own frosting. Lori, one of my staff people, used to decorate cakes, and she used to do wedding cakes, and so she has inside the pan we have a tip sheet, and she has her favorite buttercream recipe in there, and how to wash it, how to don't take a knife and pry at the pan. One of the pans came back with these great big huge scratches in it, and I'm going, okay, they didn't read the instructions that said grease liberally.
I'd be afraid to check out one of those pans just because every pan I have is burned on the bottom or scraped or something, and I burn almost everything I make. So what happens? I mean, how do you keep it in such pristine condition? I would be afraid.
One, don't use
you don't use it. Number two is, if you want to keep them looking good, do not put them in the dishwasher. Wash them by hand. And then to also grease them and flour them so that when you tap it on the counter, the cake falls out,
instead of
going there and
shovel it out,
and also not to have your oven too hot.
I know, I've learned that. That's something I learned last couple years, like not to cook things at such a high rate.
If the recipe says 350, that does not mean 450.
It hasn't worked out so well for me.
Most ovens, the adjustments are not that accurate.
No, they're really not.
You said it at 400, you're probably 450.
I think at mine was like that I had an older stove for a long time, and blaming that for all the burned bakery.
The last thing before Walt cuts us off is Christmas is now over, and if you watched the Hallmark Channel, you saw that there were tons of Christmas DVDs or movies on there, and if you didn't get to watch them, the library has a bunch of them, and Info Soup has a bunch of them. So if you still want to watch Christmas movies with the happy endings, check out Info Soup.
I don't want to. After Christmas, I'm like, I don't want to see those movies again. Like, at least for another year. Maybe other people feel like that. Like, after, December 25th, I'm done with all things Christmas. I'm like, go away. Hallmark Christmas specials and Christmas music and all this stuff.
Well, I actually watched a movie that I recorded last fall. It was The Gourmet Detective. It's a Hallmark character. So they have new movies come out once or twice a year. Detective ones, and so they have new ones starting in January. And so I watched this one that was, I think, from September or something, that I had recorded it just so I could delete it and get rid of it. And so they're kind of fun, cozy. Kristen talks about the cozy mysteries. And these are the cozy mystery movies. They're not the blood and the gore. They're not the violent things where you're constantly going, But they're the nice. There usually is somebody somewhere. So there might be blood and gore that they talk about, but they're not showing it, and it's not violent.
Well, there's music in the background, so I guess...
is that Terry cutting us off?
That's Terry cutting us off.
Is it accordion music?
No.
Same old music.
I'm gonna have to get that out of
You're gonna have to, because it's always the same music.
It would be.
You know, surprise the listeners.
Good morning, listeners. Here's your librarian and accordion radio show.
Joan and Jen from Oconto Falls and from Marinette.
Marinette.
Even though she lives in Oconto.
That's right.
Yeah. Goes from there.
Yep.
Take care of it. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
See you in February.
Change in Iran.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton on U.S.